So Marcus Löfgren is my name. I'm representing Comsys AB, and we had the opportunity to get some funding to. Let me just see if I can get this to work. Oh, there we go. So Comsys AB. So I'm the CEO of Comsys AB since 10 years back. It's a company that's been around for some time. It actually was founded in 2001. But it took some time before we could actually realize our products. So we had our first prototypes coming out in the market around 2010, and then we have developed the company over time. But we'll go into that a little bit. So we got in contact with the SamspEL. It was, I think, August or something like that last year, where we saw an opportunity to actually ask for some funding for a battery storage project using second life batteries, using our existing products. So that's what I will talk a little bit about. But before we do so, I will just explain a little bit what we do, because you're probably a little bit confused right now. So we're saying the impossible or possible equation. The world will consume about 75% more electricity 2050. We're going electrical in the transportation was mentioned, and there is a lot of other things that we're trying to do in order to reduce the CO2 footprint in the world. We know that we're trying to decommission old types of energy producing units. Nuclear is of course up to discussion right now, so let's see what will happen there. But we also know that the energy prices are too low to run certain energy producing units, because sun and wind is for free. So if we can actually do more good things with the infrastructure, we will also enhance the use of sun and wind. We also know that the current infrastructure is getting old. So either we need to protect it or we need to continue to invest, and that's where we are moving into what Comsys is doing. So dynamic power generation and usage of makes grid operators start enforcing grid compliance. So grid compliance is something that the world is now enforcing. So you cannot disturb the grid more than to a certain level. Otherwise you have to invest in certain equipment that takes care of that, and that's what we do. So massive investments will be done the next couple of years in order to prepare the grids for renewable energy sources, and also, of course, electrification of different appliances and applications. And we also know that putting all these different electronics into the grid will also make the grid a lot more sensitive. And looking in what we are doing, we are of course focusing on power quality. And power quality will of course also take care, if we can rectify all these different disturbances that you can find in the grid from certain applications, then we'll remove a lot of losses, a lot of problems, a lot of heating, a lot of different things that is produced in the grids today when we're using a lot of electronics. So that is more or less our vision, to be part of that, to actually support the new grid, the new electrical system. Two words that you will should bring forward in this presentation is flexibility and also simplicity, because I think that's what we need in order to succeed with the challenge that we're having ahead of us. So the power infrastructure to come, that's more or less what we are focusing on. Coming from the power quality side, going into renewables, energy storage and so on, is where we want to go with existing know-how that we built up in the company since our start. And also, of course, all the installations we have globally will also give us a lot of feedback, or giving us a lot of feedback, what we need to do in the different grids using active power. And that's something we can only do with our products, adding batteries. So the business development of the company is moving quite rapidly now. Last year we grew about 21%. Then we haven't added the energy storage side. and also going down in size of products that we will take a look at. So we see that this year we're up about 50% already. So the grid globally is actually needing our equipment. So that is also giving it a little bit interesting to go into the second life batteries and also first life, of course, but using the existing equipment, adding batteries. We are global. I think we have sold our existing products in 60 countries, something like that. So, but our main base is, of course, Europe. We have a structure of the company that we can continue to grow quickly, and also, like I said, flexibility. We are ready. Our products are actually battery ready, so we can easily integrate batteries into our existing system and make use of the technology that we have developed over the years. These are the fantastic products that I'm trying to talk about. Look really nice, I guess. They're in different sizes, and what we are focusing on as well, I mentioned simplicity. In order to make something that is really complex into something that is simple, the web user interface, the system's ability to tune itself and so on is very, very important in order to address a global market, but also addressing a very complex problem with power quality. So we do a lot of different things with the grid. One of the most, how should I say, common one is harmonics. It's actually something that we are getting out of motor controls, LED lamps, everything that is controlling the speed of a motor. It could be a ventilation system, production that is using some electrical motors, water, wastewater, data centers, HVAC system, you name it. Harmonics is what we are pushing a lot with our products today. But there are a lot of other things that is created in the grid which normally you don't know. And that is something that will have a huge impact if we're looking at solar, for example, because the solar inverter is also creating these harmonics, but also a lot of other things that we need to take care of, because otherwise we will not be able to enforce solar in all the houses we want in Sweden. And if we look at Germany, for example, they have put a lot of solar panels on roofs in southern part of Germany, and they have issues with power quality. And that is also something we're addressing with our products. So with the ADF system that you saw in the previous picture, we can rectify this. So how do we do that? It's more or less working like, you know, these noise cancelling headphones, you probably have tried them, where you actually send a current that with a negative frequency, and then we can create a perfect sinus curve in the grid. So that is what the ADF units are doing. And these are some of the customers that we have as references globally. So you can see it all over the world using these kind of and have these challenges. And the possible equation using standard products and second life batteries, that's what we a little bit will talk about. So we have Q and D, and we're adding P with battery storage. So our project that we have with SamspEL is about putting together, this is an enterprise grid, meaning that you have the office grid and you have the production grid. You have batteries, of course, in the production, and you have also batteries in the office space, taking care of data centers and UPSs and so on. But you also have some solar panels. So we try to put everything in the office in DC in order to reduce the energy consumption. But what I would like to stress a little bit more in this presentation is batteries that we use for the industry side. Because here is the SamspEL coming into the picture, where we want to use the enterprises to have an energy storage, but also, of course, supporting the grid in certain situations. So if we look at Vattenfall and E.ON and Fortum and so on, they have some issues with the frequency control of the grid. And that is something they would like to do. And the enterprise wants to, of course, secure their production, but they also want to reduce their cost in terms of having too high subscriptions from the utilities just to handle peak power. Because many times the use of energy is kind of constant, and then you have a peak once in a while for certain applications within the industry. But starting to combine the enterprises and also the utilities, we're starting to share different investments and can actually create something that is financially doable. So in our project, we're more or less focused on this one, using the ADF systems with second life batteries to make use of what is already there that can be used as a second life. If we look at the buses that you see in the city, when the capacity of the batteries goes down to 80% in Volvo buses, they have to remove the batteries, otherwise the bus will not reach the end destination. So in terms of using that in that kind of environment, then we make use of something that otherwise would be going recycling into the energy grid and taking care of the enterprise as well as the utility. So with that said, I mean, we have all the different components to put this together, and this project has been going on now for 6 months. And we are doing good using the second life batteries that is actually coming from Volvo. So
thank you very much.
Thank you.